Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 183.
Yeah!
Have you ever thought what it's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?
Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
There's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems on a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
I'm the Doctor. This is Rose Tyler. She's my +1. Is that all right?
That would be me.
Hello. Surprise!
Boom, etc.
I'm the Doctor. Do everything I tell you. Don't ask stupid questions. And don't wander off.
How can you kidneys? I don't like the colour.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. I hope you've had a cracking week and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yes, welcome aboard. Some light news. Again, some really cool bit of news dropped in. But still not a lot in volume. Cool bit of merch as well. So we've got only one piece each, but they're very cool. Very, very cool.
Oh, yes.
Expensive. But cool.
Yeah.
And then we're on to our review of Mr. Pertwee's The Time Monster.
Yeah.
Not
That's
the Time Warrior that I got
No, not the Time Warrior.
in error last night on Twitter. But,
I only saw that this morning as well. I was like, what? Oh, right. Easily done, though. Every time I've gone to sort of put it into the search engine, I've been like, the Time, which is it? Monster, isn't it? Yeah. It's easily done. It's a bit like Seeds of Doom, Seeds of Death. I can never remember which is which. You know, Death is the Ice Warrior, isn't it?
yes.
Is it?
Seeds of Doom.
See, even now I'm like,
Yeah,
is it?
Seeds of Death is the Ice Warrior. And then Doom is the
Crinoid.
Yeah, with the guy in the posh suit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's easily done.
It is, yes. Got some great feedback last week for the Sarah Jane review.
Oh, good.
Which is all good.
Yeah.
Sort of confirmed that we should be doing that stuff, which is good.
Yeah, I'm pleased about that because it's, you know, whenever you try something new, you're never sure how well it's going to go down and stuff. So I'm glad that was enjoyed by the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good. So we're in week 2 of the new sketch. So that's Classic Who. And then Torchwood next week.
Yeah, that's it.
Looking forward to that.
Somebody did ask as well, and I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but somebody asked you, didn't they, on the Facebook page, if we were going to be doing it randomly like we do the Doctor Who episodes or in order, and we decided to do Sarah Jane and Torchwood in order that they were shown because there is a sort of flow to both series, I think, and it just made more sense. And plus, we can't remember a lot of it and haven't seen a lot of the Sarah Jane, so it just made more sense to do those ones in order. I think we agreed, didn't we? So yeah. I think it's nicer flow as well, actually. Yeah, they do flow. Yeah, because it would have been really random to have done like an episode from series 3 of Torchwood, which is like one big story, and then gone back to like, you know, so for series 1, it wouldn't have worked, I don't think. So yeah, so we can enjoy it all together from the beginning.
Isn't that nice?
With a bit of random Who in the middle.
Yeah. A bit of randomness thrown into...
Yeah, you got to have a bit of random.
Yeah. So it's like organised chaos.
Yes. Which is the perfect description of me and you, really, isn't it? Organised chaos.
It sums us up perfectly.
It does, yeah.
Our lives are that in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Speaking of lives, what have you been up to, my good friend?
Oh, I had an absolutely cracking... weekend last weekend, and I managed to do quite a lot of Doctor Who / Torchwood related stuff actually. So I met with some friends in London, and we started off at the London Film Fair, which ever since Showmasters took over it, bizarrely the guests have really gone down in quality. Like they used to get they've always had quite random obscure guests, but they used to always have a few big names as well. So they've had Tom Baker, you know, and they've had Peter Davison. They've had all the Doctors over the years pretty much, and you know, quite recently, and George Cole, and you know, big names. But then Showmasters took over the last 3 or 4 events, and they now own it or whatever. And yeah, it's bizarre because I like going there because it's in this sort of musty old hall in Westminster, but it's a nice venue. And it's normally quite relaxed. So, I like going to these events. But yeah, I haven't gone to the last few because I haven't heard of anybody on the list. I mean, I'll give an example. One of the guests on this one just gone was somebody who appeared for like 3 seconds in a James Bond. And she was like a cashier at a desk. And the only picture they could find was a screen grab of her behind the cashier's desk. And I was like, who on earth wants to meet her? So it's a bit random. But anyway, they had, we were going to start there because they had Christopher Benjamin, who obviously was in Talons of Wing Chang and all that. So my friend wanted to meet him, and now I've met him before. So that, I was like, oh yeah, he's really nice. And they had Murray Melvin, who played Billis in Torchwood, the evil Billis. Now, I liked Torchwood, and I liked his character, but the reason I really wanted to meet him was because I used to work in HMV on Oxford Street in London, and he used to come in quite a lot. And he was the nicest man. He's such a nice man. He used to come in and buy all this obscure classical music. So I used to chat to him quite a bit. But being a fan, I always wanted to say, oh, can I get a quick picture? Which he would have been fine with. But you weren't, the sort of management wouldn't be. Like, you just didn't do it. You weren't allowed. Because we used to get a lot of celebrities come into that particular store. But, you can't, as a staff member, you can't go up and say, oh, can I get a quick selfie with you, mate? It's just not done. So I kind of just wanted to tick that box, and I thought it'd be really nice to see him again, and I'll have something to chat to him about, because I don't know about you, mate, but I can never think what to say to celebrities when I meet him at sign-ins. I normally kind of shuffle up, get something signed, moved on, but I thought I can have a good old chat with him, and it was exactly what I'd sort of pictured in my head on the way there. Right now, I met him. I said, oh, you used to come into HMV, and oh, yes. And he said, oh, whatever happened to? And we both couldn't remember his name. And I was like, oh, yeah, he was brilliant. He knew all that stuff, didn't he? And we had a really nice chat. And then I was like, can I get a table picture of you? Is that all right? He's like, of course you can. And he's just such a lovely man. So he let in to do it. And then this grumpy old woman next to him was like, no, Mr. Murray Melvin isn't doing table photos. I was like, oh, right. And he sort of looked at me as if, oh, sorry. I said, don't worry. I said, I'm getting a professional one with you in a minute anyway. I always like to have one on my phone. I just feel like I'm getting more for my money. So I said, I'll see you at the photo booth. Don't worry. So I got a great picture of him at the photo booth. So that was a really nice experience. He was the only person I met there because, as I said, I didn't really know anybody else on the list. Then we moved on to, we went up to FP, obviously. We thought we've got to go to FP. Bought a couple of those new little Titan figures that everyone hates, the Cowie collection. I don't know if you've seen these.
Oh, yeah.
They look like your idea of hell. I kept thinking, I bet Gary hates these.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those.
No, I didn't think you would be. I bought 3. I just wanted to see what they look like. And I actually really like them. But you know what? I like my Titan stuff. So we walked past the fake Downing Street location. Do you remember me and you went there? The street near the Strand in London, which was used as Downing Street in the episode... What is it? Aliens of London, World War III. Walked past there. Then one of our friends was going to meet a friend of his that had been to see Pearl Mackie in a play. And he's a guy I know as well. So after FP, we went and met him. And I thought, oh, that's cool because, I'll say hello to Pearl. That'd be excellent. Really nice, nice thing for the day. She just wasn't in a very good mood, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
To be fair to her, she came out and she signed and posted pictures and stuff, but she just didn't seem like, when I met Pearl a couple of years ago, just after she was cast as Bill, it was a lovely experience. I walked away saying, gosh, she's really nice, and she took time and she seemed really chatty. Yeah, it's a very different experience this time, and I as I said to you before we start recording, I get it. She's probably fed up of coming out to a load of people that haven't seen the play, that want autographs and stuff. But, she just seemed a bit agitated and quite snappy and stuff. She had to go at this poor old lady next to me for taking her picture without asking and stuff. And she grumbled at me because, another one that hasn't seen the play, and asked her a picture and she tutted. And I was thinking, oh, no, this is ruining my first experience. I should have just left it at that. But anyway, I got picked with her and I got a scribbled autograph and I was sort of happy. It sort of took the edge off, the fact that she was had a bit of attitude is the best way I can describe it. But, probably tired. It was a matinee performance. So, we all have off days. I'm not going to hold it against her. So that was that. And then we finished off the day by going to one of my favourite locations, the Shad Thames, where they filmed Resurrection of the Daleks.
Oh, yeah.
the Peter Davison story. I love it there because it's all cleaned up and it looks nice, but they've kept the character.
Yeah.
And B, it's all bars and restaurants. So I'm like, a bar, I like a pint. So, I was kind of in heaven, just sat there with a pint of lager, looking out, at Tower Bridge, isn't it? Everyone calls it London Bridge. It's Tower Bridge, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Looking out and thinking, that's where the TARDIS landed. I'm right there. And we finished it all off. And it was our good friend Callum. It was his 18th birthday. So he was finally allowed a legal drink. And he was there. And, when I was with a few other Doctor Who fans, Adam, Ultimate Whovian, my good friend Will. So it was just the perfect end to the evening as well, just to be on that location. I was kind of in heaven. None of us wanted us to leave as well because we all had to get to sort of different destinations after. And we were all like, oh, gosh, another 5 minutes and I better go. None of us wanted to leave. We were all just like so happy there and stuff. So that was just an absolutely wicked weekend. It's funny, though, you're talking about the getting names of episodes wrong. All the way there, we were like, Revelation of the Daleks location. No, not Revelation. Remembrance. No, not Remembrance. Resurrection. And we were all like, all the way there, we were getting the name of the episode wrong. So, it is easily done.
It's very easily done. We do it every episode.
I know. So that was me, mate. So I had a cracking weekend actually. Really, really enjoyed it.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, I'm still on a bit of a buzz from it, actually. I'm still sort of keep looking at the pictures, yeah. I just desperately want to go back to that location. I love it down there.
It is cool.
So, it's so cool. Yeah, so good. Yeah. Yeah, so that's me. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been up a couple of little things, nothing major really. We got the collection of the new Target books delivered.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, which is good. So thank you very much to BBC Books for those. I'm about a third of the way through Rose, the Russell T Davies story, and it's very, very good.
I've been seeing a lot of this on social media about people that have read the books, and there's like little changes in it. Like Russell's put a lot of backstory. I hear he's given your favourite Clive a lot more backstory, which I bet you're thrilled about because you've always said, haven't you, the perfect spin-off would be Clive from that episode.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it gets gunned down at the end of it, doesn't he? But
yeah, I reckon there's so much content in his backstory because he's dedicated a lot of his life to researching and investigating who the Doctor is.
Yeah.
And in his garage or his shed, one of the two, or the basement, where he's got all of his stuff.
All the pictures, yeah.
Yeah. There's like thousands of documents and photos and everything. And you can tell he's a real sort of fanatic almost about it. So I reckon that's like the perfect big finish. Sort of spin-off show right there, like the Adventures of Clive. And, he could have like these near misses with the Doctor as he's trying to find him and investigating stuff. A bit like like Sarah Jane's like stuck here. Well, not stuck here, but she's here on Earth and she's doing her own thing, like journalistic reporting sort of thing. He's almost got that type of vibe about him, where he's got this sort of life obsession where he's trying to find out who the Doctor is and it sort of takes him on various sort of little adventures. So, yeah, I think he's a great character and Russell does flesh him out a little bit in the story, which is brilliant.
I've seen him, actually. I thought of you the other day because he's in in fact, it's just finished. It was like a 10-episode daytime TV series called Shakespeare in Hathaway, and he stars in that. Yeah, I don't know if you've watched Eddie.
I've heard of it.
I loved it, actually. It was so easy watching. Do you know what I mean? It was just one of those programs you could put on and drift away for an hour, and he's like the lead in it. And I thought of you because I was thinking, it's Clive. It's the actor's name's Mark Benton, isn't it?
That's it.
And he's good in it. So you should watch that if you like him because he's really good in it. But you should paint on that spin-off because one day it'll happen and you'll be sat there and you won't be getting any royalties.
That's
you'll
true.
Be like, that's my idea.
Yeah. I think he stars with someone that was in Who. She was in EastEnders. Who was the woman that was? Because she was in that Eccleston story. The long game. Yeah.
Joe. I couldn't place her at all. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was in the long game, I think.
Yes, she was.
She was one of the contestants. Yeah. She gets killed by a Dalek at the end.
It's the one. Yeah. It's the one that is it. Linda with a Y. Is it her? No.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Couldn't I kept thinking I recognised her and I couldn't place her.
Yeah, see, our memory's not that bad all the time.
Yeah, Linda. Yeah, Linda with the white. Oh, blimey, didn't even realise.
Yeah.
Well, she's really good in it as well.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I did notice mate. It's very easy watching. It's not, it's not a Shakespeare script. Let's put it that way. But it's a fun script. I've really enjoyed that series. I hope they do some more. Cool. So I'm looking forward to reading these books because I know that the Moff has outdone himself again by adding in he's made a load of changes, hasn't he? He said that the first Doctor's colourblind or something, and that's why everything's black and white in the black and white era. I mean, come on, Stephen, you don't need to go to these lengths. Just write a good story. You don't have to fill in all the gaps, mate. You don't have to explain. You certainly don't have to explain why the first Doctor's in black and white. I mean, come on.
No.
It makes no sense at all. But apparently I think I haven't read this. I'm only going what I've seen on social media, but I think that's what's happened, isn't it? He's put something in, which is the one he's written.
That is Twice Upon a Time.
Twice Upon a Time, right? Yeah. So he's put something in there about why the first.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Sorry.
No.
The Day of the Doctor. Sorry.
Oh, of course, Day of the Doctor. Yeah.
But so he's put something in there. It's not very big. I think it's only like a little throwaway thing. But yeah, it's sort of put people's backs up a little bit.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know when to leave things alone, does he?
Just his imagination goes wild.
Yeah. But so I'm about a third of the way through Rose. And I'll tell you what, mate, the way that Russell writes books is like you're watching a TV show. It's like you're watching an episode of Doctor Who. Like the way he writes it, it's it just flows really nicely. Like literally an hour went past and I was like crikey, I've read, quite a few chapters in. And you didn't even know. It's like sometimes when anyone that's read a book that's a bit of a chore, it's a bit slow going, you think, oh, crikey, come on, let's get on with it. But no, literally from the first page, it's, bosh, you're into it and it's very, very good.
I can imagine, mate. In fact, they're doing a mega book signing at Forbidden Planet London on Friday. So if you listen to this
week,
podcast, so if you're listening to the podcast the day it's dropped, then get yourself to Forbidden Planet in London. It's between 6 and 7, I think. And Russell T Davies is there. Stephen Moffat is there. Paul Cornell's there. Jenny Corrigan. How'd you say her name? Basically all the authors are there in one room signing. I mean, that's going to be amazing. I was going to be there 100%. I was like, I'm not missing this, not for anything. Booked the day off. Unfortunately, my circumstances have changed and I won't be there because I'm going to Amsterdam. So it was a tough choice. I actually nearly turned it down as well.
You've changed. Where's the priorities in life?
I know.
Come on,
but I was thinking, Arc of Infinity location. Or to be fair, the only thing that swung it, because I seriously did nearly turn it down. My other half couldn't believe it. I was like, but I'm going to a Doctor Who thing that day. And it was like, yeah, but Amsterdam. I was like, I know, but I was like, but the thing is, I have met them before, so it's just a bit greedy. I was thinking, well, come on. If I hadn't met Russell before, I swear I would have just said, I'm sorry, I can't come.
Of course. Yeah.
I can't make it because I would not have. It's going to be an amazing event, though, isn't it? So,
it'll be busy.
Are you going to go? Yeah. Are you going to go?
I'm not sure.
It will be busy. I'm sure it's going to be massively busy. Yeah. I love that. I really like the fact that FP have actually put on their website as well that they're pretty good with photos. Like when I met Russell there last year, they said to keep things running smoothly when you come in, if you want a picture with Russell, just hand your phone to a member of staff on hand. They will take it and then move. It just keeps. So they've thought about these things. There's none of this. No photos. We haven't got time. No. And what they've said on this one is because of the nature of obviously having that long table of people. To get individual pictures and stuff, it's just not possible, because you're going to be you're not going to be stood there with all of them and then someone else going. You're going to be moving along. Everyone's going to be getting their books signed at the same time. So it's just not. You can't do individual shots. And FP has said, look, we'll have a member of staff on hand. Give them your phone. We will take pictures of you meeting them. It won't be sort of single shots, but at least you'll have a record of it. And I just think that's so good. I wish more sort of companies were like that because they know fans want to get a picture with them and they've actually thought about it. And I just think that's really cool, because also it puts my mind at rest because very often when I go to these things, I'm thinking, right, I need to get a photo. Am I going to be able to get a photo? Am I going to be allowed to get a photo? With them, it's black and white. Yes, you'll get one, but it'll be this. And I like that, you know.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually, because it sets up your expectations as well. Because
exactly.
Yeah, you know, when we've gone to, or, you know, we've gone to conventions before, and we've always had this conversation on the way there, or when we've got in the venue. We're like, you and I, we always say exactly the same sentence, and that is, I wonder if.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a case of, I wonder if we'll be able to get a pick with so-and-so, or I wonder if he's having picks today, or I wonder, you know. So with FP, it's like, yeah, like you said, just black and white. Like, yeah, you can have a pick,
where you are.
And you know what you're doing. So fair play to those guys for that.
Yeah, it's funny because I nearly, when that woman at the London Film Fair said, no, Mr. Murray is not doing them, I nearly said, well, actually, it does say on the Showmaster's site that table photos are allowed. And I was going to have a thing with it, but because Murray had been so polite and lovely, I just didn't want to embarrass him in front of it. I didn't sort of want to get into that. But the reason I'm saying that is because I know the last time when Peter Davison was there, they had said, if you asked him for a selfie after buying his book or picture, the guy next to him was like, no, it's an extra £10. I was like, oh, no, you're all right, thanks. But then my friends met him in the afternoon and sort of questioned the guy and said, well, it says on the website table photos are allowed, so why are you saying that? And they was like, oh, go on then. And he got a selfie with. So I almost argued the point. Mm-hmm. But I just, I didn't want to embarrass poor old Murray, because it is embarrassing for them, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so. Oh. But yeah, it's good. That's why I like it. FP, it's clear, you know where you are. And that's going to be an amazing event. If anybody's listening that can get to it, or I'm still like slightly regret. I mean, I'm going to love Amsterdam, obviously, but I'm still like a part of me is going to really wish I was there, you know?
Yeah. Oh.
So I hope you go, mate. I think you should try and go. I think it'll be awesome. It will be busy, but it'll be worth it. Meeting Russell and the Moth, and I bet the atmosphere in there is going to lift the roof off, to be honest. It's going to be brilliant.
It'll be awesome. Yeah, I'll try and get there.
Yeah, try and get along, yeah. Don't go taking your books, though. You got to buy them there. They'll be like, wait, you? Actually, you could. They'd never know. No, they'd never know.
Yeah. So where were we? Yeah, the books themselves. Yeah. So I've got the set, and I'm into Rose. I was going to start with City of Death, because that's one of the classic ones that they've just... But no, I thought I'd start with Rose, because I was really excited for the RTD book. So probably get a review up on the site at some point.
That'd be cool.
Once we finish those. Not much else. We've set up the you guys might have seen on Twitter and Facebook, we've now got a Discord server, which is cool. So any of you techie people, or anyone that's using Discord for your gaming channels, whatever. So Discord, anyone that doesn't know what it is.
That's me. That's why I'm smiling, because I'm like, I saw the pictures, like, what is it? I'm so old. I don't know.
Yeah, so Discord is like an online chat and voice sort of thing, where it's used primarily for like the gaming industry. So a lot of people use it for that. But
that'd be why I don't know. Yeah,
but it's gaining more popularity for other things. So there's already a few Doctor Who Discord servers out there, and there's lots of servers for like popular TV shows now and films, and there's one for Rick and Morty and lots of cool stuff. And it's all it is essentially. It's just a place to go out and hang out and chat Doctor Who. So the way that I've set it up is there's various chat rooms, or channels, should I say, on there. There's one for the podcast itself. So every time a new episode goes out, it gets put on there, and there's general Doctor Who, there's Big Finish, conventions and stuff like that. So we've got quite a few people who've joined already. There's about 25 people on there.
Oh, cool.
So it's very cool. So check out our Twitter page or the Facebook page, and you'll find the link on there. And I'll also put a link. I'll add a link and a button on our website as well. So come over there and hang out. With just lots of good chat around cosplaying and conventions at the minute. Some good chat around recent Big Finish. So, the Paul McGann story that's just launched, Ravenous.
Oh, yeah.
A bit of chat on there. So it's good. Good times.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so check out the Discord server. I'll put a link in the show notes as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's all I've been up to, really. Not much else.
Get yourself over to that signing. When I come back, I want to see all those books signed.
I will try and get... I did plan to have the day free when we first found out about it. This was like weeks and weeks ago, wasn't it? Last month or something. But as it's got closer, I've realised, actually, this is in the school holidays, and I think I'm away with the boy at doing something on that Friday. So if I'm back in time from whatever I'm doing, then of course I'll try and get over there. But Yes. Otherwise, we'll have to rely on Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But enough waffle. Should we land the TARDIS and get this news done?
All right, the TARDIS.
One and only bit of news is very cool.
It's brilliant.
It's very good. The original script that William Hartnell was given for An Unearthly Child is up for auction on Thursday, the 3rd of May. And this looks so good.
It does.
This is not one of those scripts that was lying around at the time. And, you know, this is the one that William Hartnell had in his hands for weeks leading up to the recording of the very first episode. And it's all kind of battered and, you know, it's in good condition, don't get me wrong, but it's got like tears on it in certain pages and it's got coffee stains on it. And but most importantly, it's got loads and loads of annotations and things where Hartnell himself has obviously, you know, being a brand new show and a brand new character, Hartnell himself was working through in his own head how he wanted to play the Doctor. So as he's reading through the script, he's writing little notes here and there, and he's trying to figure out, you know, how the Doctor would react to certain things and how he wants to play certain scenes and stuff. And it's just a lovely little gem of history, Doctor Who. So this is like the very first thing that he would have ever seen, I suppose, in the run up to because it all starts with the script, doesn't it? You know, it's the very first thing that everyone gets.
Yeah.
So, this is by Anthony Coburn, obviously the writer for Unearthly Child, and interestingly, it's got the original title as well. So it's got Doctor Who and the Tribe of Gum.
Yeah,
which is a nice little nugget. And then it's got Episode 1, An Unearthly Child, and it's got all of the little scribbles that Hartnell himself has put on there, and little notes to himself and little underlines and bits. So as he's learning the lines, or he's trying to learn the lines as best he can, he's like marking certain things and circling. It's just beautiful. It's a really lovely little.
It is absolutely. I'm looking at, because they've put up quite a few pictures of some of the pages of the little scribbles on and stuff, and it's they describe it as the holy grail of Doctor Who memorabilia on the auction site. And I think it is. I think this is a beautiful piece to own. I don't know how much this is going to go for. They're estimating between £5,000 to £7,000, but it could, as we know with auctions, it could go for a lot more.
I think it will. Yeah.
I'll be very interested to see what the final price of this is. But it's whoever gets it, it is like a little something from a time capsule, isn't it? It's a real unique one-off special piece of memorabilia. It's quite incredible, actually.
Yeah.
The fact that Hartnell himself has made all these little notes and scribbles on the script, I think is just makes it even more. Oh, I would love it. I'm just clicking through all the pictures like, beautiful. Love this.
I'll tell you what, mate, if I had the money, this would be a no-brainer for me. I would absolutely throw my hat in for this. Yeah. If I had the money, I'd love to own it. It's a beautiful like the Holy Grail, like you said, on the website. And it was found while they were refurbishing the house that Hartnell lived in.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so when they were renovating that or whatever, they found it. And, the guy that found it took it to the Antiques Roadshow. I think it was back in 2016 or 17, something like that.
Yeah.
And, he didn't, I don't think he said on the show that he had any plans to sell it or anything. I just think he wanted to get it valued, and they had a nice photo of Hartnell there, and the expert, quote unquote, was talking through, the certain elements of it. And I don't think there's any need to sort of validate its authenticity. It's definitely the real deal. But yeah, so now it's actually going up for auction. So I don't know what's changed his mind, but yeah, it's going up on Aston's Auctioneers and Valuers, and it's their film, music, memorabilia, and comics auction. which sounds pretty awesome in itself. So yeah, get over there if you got the money.
If you've got a couple of grand in your back pocket. Yeah, I'm surprised this is the first I've heard of it, because I didn't realise that that episode had already been shown of the Antiques Roadshow with this on it. So I don't know if I'll be able to find that on the iPlayer or whatever, but I'd like to see that, just to see them flicking through and hearing a bit more about the backstory of how it was found and stuff. But what an awesome find. I almost feel like it should, I hope whoever buys it, I don't know, I almost feel like it sort of belongs, like if for example the Doctor Who experience was still going or comes back, I feel this belongs in somewhere like that so that everyone can enjoy it and see it. But I mean, I guess it's just going to go into someone's private collection, which is, is fine. But yeah, I feel this is quite an important piece of Doctor Who history, this.
It is very important.
Yeah. So good luck to whoever gets it, and be interested. Maybe we'll keep an eye on it and come back to you and let you know how much it sells for.
Yeah.
Be interested to know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only bit of news we've got. Should we get our metal friend in, see what the bleeding hell he's got?
Yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Robert Harrop.
Our good friends at Robert Harrop.
They are bringing their classic Who monster game strong as always.
I can so see this on your shelf.
Oh, dude. I can see this on everyone's shelf.
Yeah.
How would you getting on with your special weapons, by the way? Is that back on your
right.
doorstep?
Yeah, so actually, a quick update. So for those of you who don't know, Robert Harrop did Special Weapons Dalek, beautiful piece. Gary got his. The following week, I got mine. Had a little dent in the gun. Couldn't really, wasn't happy with it. Emailed them. Been brilliant. Sent me a replacement. In fact, I've just boxed up the original to send back today after we finish recording. So I've got the replacement. He's gorgeous, fantastic, brilliant. But for somebody who's so indecisive like me, he is painted very differently to the original. And I have spent the last 3 days looking at the two of them going, which one's better? Because the gun is so much better on the replacement. Like the moulding is absolutely spot on. And technically, I could swap the lids, but that means keeping the sort of, I think I joked about this in the last podcast, saying I bet you the top's better on the new one, but the bottom's better on the old, which is exactly what's happened. So the one they've sent me is more battle damaged in terms of he's, painted a lot darker. He's got a lot more stains on him from all the oil that's dripped down. So he's probably more screen accurate, but the other one looks a lot cleaner and I actually prefer it. So yeah, anyway, I've decided to keep the one that's more screen accurate, the sort of dirtier one. I think I compared him to the picture that you've got and he's much more like the one you've got. So
nice one. Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah. And they've been brilliant. Actually, they were very quick to resolve it. They didn't question it. They didn't, because I was thinking, am I being a bit fussy here? Are they going to tell me to, go do one? But no, they were brilliant, mate. So yeah, very happy with the special weapons. I'll post some pictures once I've got a chance. Yeah.
Thumbs up to Robert Harrop.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's good to know as well, because I love ordering stuff from them and it's the first time I've had any sort of issue, and it's good to know that they're so on the ball about sorting it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Cheers, guys. But this one, so we should tell people it is.
Yeah. The Mandrill.
A Mandrill from Nightmare of Eden, isn't it?
These look cool,
It does look wicked. I'm really undecided about it because I'm not a massive fan of the story.
Yes.
And that does sometimes affect, I'm thinking, but he does look brilliant. I'll tell you what, mate, for me, getting this depends on the price. Because I love it, but it's not like the Special Weapons where I love the story and when I saw how good it looked, I was like immediately pre-order. You know what I mean? So this one's going out, I think, at the end of April, and then we'll find out the price for it. But that's where I am with it. I think it looks a beautiful piece. I think they've got it absolutely spot on. But in terms of whether I'll buy it, it's going to be down to the price. I'd probably go 65, 70. If it's anything above that, like the Special Weapons was 95, I might have to. But yeah, but it's a lovely looking piece, isn't it?
It's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of torn as well. Because I'm not really a huge fan of them in the story.
No, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? They don't sort of blow you away and stick in your mind as like, the sort of highlight of classic Who in terms of monsters and stuff. But the figure, like you said, does look very, very good. Really detailed as always from Robert Harrop.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit torn. It would look good on the shelf, but if it's over sort of 60 quid, I might give that a miss. But if you're into mandrels, though, then you know where to go.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And he's limited to 200 as well, so it's quite a low. I think Special Weapons was 250, wasn't he? He was limited to 250. This one's limited to 200. And they do tend to sell out. I think Special Weapons they've still got some.
They have.
But they are limiting their numbers now. So yeah, if you want a mandrel on your shelf, I think Friday the 27th is when they're putting him up for actual sale. That's what they said. So we shall see what the price is.
I mean, in terms of sort of trying to couple it with similar figures, if you look at the Zygon figure.
Oh, yes.
That Robert Harrop have got, and the Silurian 1970 figure. Both of those are around, one of them, the Silurian's 50 quid and the Zygon's 59 quid. And it doesn't look any, greater than those two in terms of its size or detail, anything. So if it's more than that, then I'll give it a miss. But I don't know.
That's where I'd expect him to be. Yeah.
But I have noticed that loads of stuff on the Robert Harrop stuff is I have noticed that loads of stuff on the Robert Harrop website is now sold out. Like loads of stuff.
I know. Yeah. Some really good pieces as well.
Some pieces that I'm absolutely gutted that I missed out on as well. Like the Davros Genesis figure.
Yes, he's really nice. A friend of mine bought him from the Who shop when we went there, and he's stunning, actually.
The Yeti Web of Fear.
Lovely, yeah.
Figure, gutted I missed that. The Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
Gutted I missed that. The 10th Planet, Cyberman. So many good figures that I missed out on. Fortunately, they have got a couple there that I'm still after. So Sutek, still after him.
He's good, yeah.
And that Zygon, I'm still eyeing up that Zygon,
Oh, he's good. Yeah. He's a nice figure. I was going to say, actually, they are great figures. I think everyone knows who listens that we absolutely love these. I've got a few of them, and the ones I haven't got, I've seen. And I tell you what, I think we have got the best one though, the Sea Devil.
Oh, the Sea Devil! You love that, don't you? Yeah.
He's so perfect. I think he's the Sea Devil and the Tetrap are my two favourite that they've done. Those two figures are so brilliant in the detail and the painting and everything that they've done on them. So at least we've got those. They're they're in the bank, but there are some nice ones. I mean, the Davros one, I wish I'd got him, but yeah. And the Malice, don't forget the Malice.
Oh, your little Malice, yeah.
Took me ages to get him. Yeah.
So, anyways, Robert Harrop. So yeah, the Special Weapons is still up if you want to get that. And I'll tell you what, that is a beautiful.
It is a beautiful piece.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a belter, that one.
Yeah. I may do a little review if I get time. It's lovely.
Anyways, done with news and merch. It's time to cue the review. Dude, what are we doing this week?
So, crystals at the ready. It's the Time Monster.
Are you ready for a very over-the-top... Are you ready for a very over-the-top, not suited at all to the episode's trailer?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
Last Kronos, the time has come.
Here was I, all ready for a nice little trip to Atlantis.
Why Atlantis?
Crystal of Kronos.
It's only a legend, though.
Are you trying to tell us that the classical gods are real?
Quite so. Kronos, a living creature, was drawn into time by the priests of Atlantis, using that crystal as its center. And your friend the Professor is trying to use that crystal to capture the Chronovore.
I am the Master, Lord of Time. I come as an emissary from the god.
He has the very bearing of a god.
There is grave danger.
Danger of what, for heaven's sake?
To the entire created universe. Time Eaters. The most fearsome of the lot.
did you see? Answer me!
Kronos!
Kronos!
There you go.
That is a very exciting trailer. Whoever put that together did well there.
Yes. Sometimes if I can't find like the official trailer, especially for Classic Who, it's quite difficult if they haven't done a next time or coming soon DVD trailer.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult. There's this one channel that I normally go to, and it's I have linked it a couple of times in the show notes. It's called Veritissima UK or something like that. And they put together these, like this is one of theirs. And they just put together these really sort of action-packed, over-the-top trailers for Classic Who. So, yeah. It's
well done, guys.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's the trailer, if you've not seen The Time Monster, is absolutely nothing like the story at all. But there we go. The Time Monster. It was first broadcast back in 1972. May through to June. It's a 6-parter. It was written by Robert Sloman and Barry Letts. It was overseen by Terence Dix, and it was directed by Paul Bernard. And it stars John Pertwee as the Doctor with Joe Grant, Katie Manning, and it's a master story. So we have the absolutely brilliant Roger Delgado.
Yes.
As the master. With his awesome goatee.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah, with those perfect little white bits.
I know, yeah.
Which I can't tell if the rest of it's died and he's left those bits or if he's just naturally got those bits there, but very, very cool. So the plot for this one, I'm going to try my best at this one. So it kicks off with the Master, who is kind of stationed himself at this scientific, at first I thought it was a university, but it's like this scientific institution place where he's sort of stationed there as this professor of something. And he's constructed this device which can sort of take control of time and time travel and stuff, because he's trying to summon Kronos, which is this like ancient god creature that the ancient Atlanteans used to sort of worship, I think. But something goes wrong. He sort of kind of manages to summon Kronos, but Kronos turns out to be a very bratty little creature that's, you know, unpredictable and can't control him. So that sort of goes to beep. At the same time, the Doctor has constructed this very cool little device that can pick up on other sort of time changes in the, you know, in whatever, and they pick up, you know, another signature and they go after it and so on. Units involved. And anyway, it sort of goes on and on and on and on and on, where they go to Atlantis. And the Master sort of beams in a sort of very Star Trek-esque way this guy called Crassus from Atlantis, and between the two of them, after a bit of squabbling, they decide that yes, the Master's going to take control. They end up in Atlantis, they kill the king. They still can't manage to get hold of Kronos. They get thrown into the time vortex after they destroy Atlantis. The Master and the Doctor then have a bit of a one-to-one. The Doctor gets thrown into the time vortex, gets pulled back into the TARDIS. And then Kronos does appear right at the very end, but as a very nice looking lady who says that, yes, she realizes that the Doctor and Joe are, you know, the goodies, so they can go, but she wants to keep the Master and torture him for the rest of the time. But the Doctor says, no, he's not that bad, let him go. So he runs off. And that's it.
That's it, yeah. You did well there. Yeah, you did well. I think you covered it.
Covered some of it.
Yes. I think you got the most of it in.
Yeah.
All the action.
Yeah. So the Time Monster, mate, what you're feeling for this one?
Well, look, it does come in for quite a bashing, this story, and I get the feeling that it I'll ask you in a minute, but I get the feeling that perhaps it didn't do a lot for you. I don't think it's as bad as its reputation because I find it quite watchable, and I think a lot of that's down to Roger Delgado. He's just so good in it. I actually feel he carries quite a lot of this story, so I find it perfectly watchable. When I hear people saying how bad it is and awful, I think, well, yeah, it is not the best story, and it certainly loses its way, I think, especially when we get to Atlantis in episode 5. I did find myself getting really bored in episode 5. But up until that point, I was kind of enjoying it, actually. So I don't think it's great, but I also don't think it's as bad as its reputation. So I'm kind of in the middle on this one. Okay. As I said, I was quite enjoying it, really, the first 4 parts. But once we get to Atlanta, it kind of fizzles out, and it's got a really weak conclusion. Like when it actually got to the sort of resolution of the story, I was kind of like, is that it? Seriously? Like, it just fizzles out. And then we get baby Benton in a nappy, which is just quite frankly disturbing, especially as this is the last story in series 12, isn't it? Series 9. So I'm kind of in the middle on it, mate. I don't think it's dreadful, because I think Roger Delgado's fantastic in it. And I was just I was kind of going with it, but it's also not one of the best. Yeah, I think it's the way to put it. And I knew there's often a scene in Classic Who where I wish we were watching these together. And this one's got.
Yeah.
Do you? Is it the scene where Kronos comes into the laboratory and it's flapping around going mad?
Oh no, sorry, no.
Oh, because I was thinking, I bet Gary's creasing up, because it's like they've obviously got him on a wire and someone's pushing him back and forward like a swing, just out of shot. And I was thinking that poor actor's bashing against the door. And I was thinking, this is horrendous. Like, it's supposed to be trapped in the in the lab, isn't it? And it's just thrashing about in there on a wire. And I was thinking, I bet Gary's cracking up. What's the scene you were thinking of? I mean, there are a few in this, to be fair. There's a few unintentionally comic scenes.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was absolutely cracking up at that scene, but the scene that I thought you would be laughing at as well is where the Master tricks Benton and sort of throws him into the
I did.
The wall. Yeah.
He really throws him into that cabinet, doesn't he?
That's it. Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, my dear doctor!" Hits him across the face. Yeah, I did have quite a chuckle at that as well. There's a few bits like that in this that are just hilarious. But
because we do like the odd backhander.
He really does give him a good backhand. This one, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Now I'm torn with this one, mate.
Right.
I'm torn because I want to say off the bat that I don't dislike this at all.
Mm.
I do think it's perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
But I'm torn because it's got everything in here that makes a great Classic Who story. We've got Pertwee, obviously, who's a great doctor, and Joe's a great companion. We've got the Master, and Delgado's Master he's
superb.
Yeah, he's just so good to watch.
Yeah.
He takes that role and he's just perfect with it. You know what I mean? He's just brilliant.
He is. He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
We've got the big kind of storyline that's quite epic in some ways. We've got these big mythical things going on. We hear things mentioned like, we've got Atlantis and Kronos, and there's another name that's thrown in there from mythology as well, which escapes me now. But
we get the Minotaur.
Oh yeah, we get the Minotaur as well. Yeah, and we've got Unit in there as well. We've got the Brigadier. We've got Benton. Everything's in there. We've got Bessie even.
Yeah, super speed Bessie as well. It's got this fancy switch that makes it go.
Yeah. We've got Pertwee doing some quirky little things like trying to talk backwards and some really cool stuff that Pertwee does really well, which is constructing these quirky little things out of nothing. It's a bit of an A-Team moment.
Oh, the wine bottle with the corks. Yeah, that's bizarre.
So everything's in there to make a great Classic Who story. But it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't quite take itself to that level where you think, crikey, that's like a classic that needs to be on everybody's watch list. There's just something about it that, and I can't explain it. I'm torn because all of that stuff's in there, and I do think it's a good watch, and I don't dislike it. But there's something in there that, well, I'm looking for something in there to make me think afterwards, that was awesome. But I don't know. It's just every episode just feels like it's running at sort of 80% all the time. There isn't that one. I mean, there's a really nice scene where the doctors have like a little speech about stuff, and there's another scene where, those really cool scenes where the Brig's losing his temper with the Doctor, and that really cool banter. And like we said, the Master's brilliant, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem to get into its high enough gear in terms of storytelling and the writing and stuff. It just seems to always keep itself at 80%. And then, like you said, the ending fizzles out a little bit. It's not the best ending. And then you just, after episode 6, you just think, oh, okay, yeah, that was good. It was all right. But I probably won't watch it again now for maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm torn with it, mate. I really want to like it a lot, and I do think it's a good watch. And I certainly don't think it deserves all of the serious bashing that it sometimes gets. I don't think it's that bad.
No.
But I do think that there are much stronger Pertwee stories from his era.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of where I am. I'm on the same page as you, because as I said, I found it very watchable. But it just falls a bit flat, doesn't it? It doesn't have that. It doesn't have any wow factor about it. It just seems to sort of drift along. You know, as I said, the only episode I really found myself getting bored, and this may be because I watched it in 2 goes. I watched 3 episodes and then another 3.
I did that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking I watched it all together for some reason, but the only episode where I found myself getting really bored was episode 5, actually. So they in episode 5 they finally get to Atlantis, and there's a lot of talking going on, and and it just didn't seem to go anywhere. And then episode 6 kind of picks up a little bit because they've got to sort of resolve all the storylines, and there is that lovely scene with the Doctor and Joe the Doctor starts talking about his childhood and a hermit.
That's what I mean.
And now that was a lovely scene, and it's completely out of nowhere. And I do get the feeling that it might have been put in there because the episode was running short. I have a feeling that might be the Barry Letts contribution, but I don't know that.
It looks like it. Yeah.
It feels like it because it's very much very much feels like a sort of Barry Letts input. So that's a lovely scene, actually. And I sort of really started to drift back into the story at that point because Pertwee plays it so well. And bless her, Jo Grant, Katie, she's just looking adoringly at him while he's telling the story about this hermit and the tree and the Doctor's childhood. And we don't often hear the Doctor sort of talk about his childhood. I mean, I think the second Doctor says something in Tomb of the Cybermen, if I remember rightly, when he's talking to Victoria. So we often get, not often, we occasionally get these little moments where the Doctor just has almost wants to get something off his chest. He wants to share something. But then we sort of get the resolution of, the sort of standoff between the Master and the Doctor and the 2 TARDIS. And then that's it. And it just, as I said, it just felt like, oh, really? The Doctor saves the Master from Kronos, who wants to punish him. But the Master just pushes him over and says, ha, I'm off again. Oh, right. Like we saw that coming a mile off. So, yeah. But I like you. Apart from episode 5 where I got a bit bored, I found it perfectly watchable. And this story does come in for a bashing, doesn't it? It very often gets called, one of the worst Pertwee stories, boring, bland, dreadful. And I don't think it is. I just think it's a bit, I think you summed it up perfectly, actually. It's a bit 80%. It just drifts. It drifts along. It's got some good cliffhangers. I thought the cliffhanger to episode 3 where Captain Yates is blown up in the trees.
Oh yeah.
Or so we think.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's really good. The cliffhangers aren't bad in it. Actually, they've all got quite a good, enough to make you want to put the next episode on. And I looked to see what other stories are in Series 9. I thought maybe it just gets a bit lost in some other good stories. But Series 9 for me is a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, you've got Day of the Daleks, Curse of Peladon, Sea Devils, which I think is brilliant, The Mutants, so it's a bit of a mixed bag of a series anyway, Series 9. So, yeah, but I agree with you. I don't think it quite deserves the bashing it gets, but I do get why some people might find it a bit dull. But certainly, I think there are worse stories. I mean, we haven't reviewed The Mutants, and I haven't watched it for a very long time. But certainly, in my memory, that was quite dull. But I'll wait to review it because I may love it when we come to rewatch it. I really can't remember The Mutants at all. But but I don't think this deserves to be rated as badly as it does get, if you like.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. So I think we're a little bit torn, aren't we? I mean, it was a very, very difficult one for me to put a number on.
I was stuck between two. I mean, I'll say when we get to it, and I get the feeling you're the same. I had sort of one score in my head. I was like, well, that's too high.
Yeah.
But if I go down half a point, that seems a bit cruel. So I was a bit stuck between the two.
Yeah.
I bet we're on the same page on when we get to the score. Yeah.
Yeah, because I kept going between as well. So when episode 1 finished, I thought, okay, I'll read you. And then after episodes 2 and 3, I thought, right, I think I know where my score's going to be for this one. And then episode 4, I was like, nope, it's gone down a bit. Episode 5, and it's down a bit more. Episode 6, and it's back up. So, yeah, it's a hard one for me to score this one.
It gets off to a great start, though, doesn't it? All the stuff at the beginning, like in the lab and, the master under this disguise. He starts off doing a slightly strange accent, but he seems to lose it quite quickly. I don't know if you noticed that. When he's pretending to be professor whatever at the beginning, he's sort of putting on I don't know what the accent's meant to be, but he's sort of putting on a bit of a fake voice, obviously, of the disguise. And he kind of drops that pretty quick. But all that stuff's quite good. And it's quite an interesting idea of him trying to summon the Kronos and all that and all the back and forth. And then we get, for me, I think it starts to dip really because there's all the slow motion stuff with Unit, which I thought that's really good. And then the TARDIS is suddenly on the back of a lorry. And I thought, I'm liking all this, seeing the TARDIS on occasion and things being pulled out of time to fight with Unit. And I thought this is all good stuff. But it's sort of when the Doctor gets in the TARDIS that for me it starts to take a dip because first off, we've got this new TARDIS set, right, that we've never seen before and we never see again. And it looks awful. It's like great big washing up bowls, stuck to the thing. So we've got that to deal with. And then it gets a bit boring, doesn't it? Because I think a lot of the episode from then on is just in the Doctor's TARDIS and the Master's TARDIS. So it's the same set, but they switch the doors to the other side in the Master's TARDIS. They take the glass column off the TARDIS and replace it with a dustbin painted silver with some bowls on top of it. It looks like a chocolate fountain, doesn't it?
It does,
with no chocolate.
Yeah.
So they make a few very tiny changes between the two sets, but I was thinking I would normally love this because I love it when we get to go in the Doctor's TARDIS and even more so when we get to go in the Master's TARDIS. But I wasn't loving it. It just didn't look very good. B, it wasn't very exciting. And C, the Master's TARDIS, it didn't feel like it wasn't redressed enough. Like in Planet of Fire, the Master's TARDIS is the same but all black and, and it feels evil. It's an evil TARDIS. This didn't feel like the Master's TARDIS. It was just like, they've just done something to the column in the middle of the console. So I found out all that stuff in the TARDIS a bit dull as well. And I was thinking, this is a shame because up until this point we had loads of action going on with Unit, but they've sort of been put in this weird time warp now where they can't move. And that's where it started to lose it for me, really. But
it dragged on a bit as well, that bit we're going between the TARDISes. And
I did. And it might have been Legopolis. I'd totally forgotten that the TARDIS lands in the TARDIS with the Master's TARDIS in the TARDIS. I was like, oh my God, like brain melt. So I was thinking this is a bit like when in Legopolis where the Master's in the TARDIS. And I really like that idea, but it doesn't work as well in this story, I don't think. I got kind of confused, actually. Yeah.
And those bloody roundels that they redesigned for it, I mean, they just look just dreadful. And it's really funny, that story, actually, because it's well known that Barry Letts hated that as soon as he saw it. And then coincidentally, as if by magic, they all got damaged, after this was filmed. So I just got visions in my head of Barry Letts just going up to one of the set, they have like the set builders, the carpenters and so on, just said, look, here's a tenner. Just take a hammer to that lot, will you? And let's have done with it.
It's strange, isn't it, that the two, because I think there's a rumor the same thing happened with, was it Graham Williams and the wooden TARDIS console set from Tom's era. He's like, oh no, it's got terribly warped. We can't use it again. Right, but a lot of people think he just wanted to create his own and stuff. It does look dreadful, and thank goodness, actually, because in the next story from series 10, which is the Three Doctors, we get a glorious TARDIS set, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
We get really nice roundels that look like the original. We get a good old 70s television hanging from the wall, and you know what I mean? It looks great. in the following series in the Three Doctors. So yeah, I'm glad they didn't stick with this. I mean, I didn't realise it was only in one story as well. This horrible set. I mean, I've seen pictures of it, and I assumed it was from this whole series, but no, just this story. Thank goodness. Yeah. Don't you find it bizarre though that when Jo walks in, she comments on it. She's like, "Oh, you've redecorated."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that's obviously the Master's got very similar taste to you then, because if the Doctor's redecorated, the Master's TARDIS looks almost identical. So he's obviously redecorated with the same colour scheme and stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure about that. That's why I think they should have changed the light in a bit.
Yeah.
We've seen inside the Master's TARDIS in other stories as well, and I wish I could. I'll have to have a look on Clayton Hickman's Twitter feed or something. It's different, isn't it? I mean,
it's slightly different. Yeah.
Don't they make it darker and stuff? I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sure we watched one not that long ago where Joe's inside the Master's TARDIS hiding or something. And it was really dark, and maybe I'm getting confused with something else. I don't know. But I didn't like it. Didn't like that. I literally didn't like it. To quote "Oh, you've redecorated." I don't like it.
I don't like it. Yeah.
I don't like it. Yeah.
No, it's definitely an acquired taste. Yeah. I'm sure there are Who fans that like the big washing up bowls, but yeah.
Well, it's weird because they've sort of cut out the circle in the middle, so you can almost see through. Yeah. Which sort of actually takes it away from, because you're sort of thinking you can see through almost to the backdrop of the trees, so it doesn't feel like the TARDIS is even in flight, and didn't work. Yeah. I'll tell you what I do like then. I'll give you something that I do like.
Go on
then. The very phallic looking TARDIS time sensor device.
Oh, right.
How on earth did they keep a straight face for that thing?
I
was it.
I know.
It is so... it's come on, but I do love it for the fact that they just got away with that.
Got away with it, yeah. It's definitely king. Yes, and I thought Capaldi's sonic screwdriver had a shade of Yeah,
but this is very much in your face, isn't it? It's like, there's no question of the shape and design of it. I'm like, what on earth?
Yeah.
I have to get myself one of those.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
And I like the fact that there's a bit where it starts going mad, bleeping, blah, 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 and Joe's like, Doctor, and he sort of has to look at it. And I'm thinking, surely you can hear it. But I guess they probably dubbed on the sound effects after, I assume, because he seems to have to look at it to realise it's working. I'm thinking, but it's going mad. Yeah. What about the other Doctor's gadget that he creates? Because he creates this weird thing out of a wine bottle and some corks, and I wasn't quite sure what that was meant to be doing.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
So it's kind of, I can't even remember what it does. It sort of jams the Master's whatever he's doing.
That's right, and then it blows up, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I don't even know what it is. I mean, he creates something that's like this time flow thingy.
Blocker or something. Yeah.
But it's just a bizarre little quirky moment, isn't it? I mean, it's it's got like the wine bottle and the
corkscrew and
and the little jar of something, and it lights up. I mean, it's quite cool. Don't get me wrong. When he starts, turning it around. I mean, it's the prop guys have had fun doing that because it does balance perfectly, and you can spin it around and it doesn't fall over anything. But it's a weird little thing. And like I said, it's a bit of an A-Team. In the A-Team. Back in the 80s, where they sort of get trapped in a garage
and always get locked in a garage full of all the stuff they need.
And there's like a few hubcaps, a bit of hose pipe and a spanner, and they come out with like this massive tank that's like fully working with an engine and everything. It's a bit like that, where he just cobbled all these strange little random bits that do nothing.
It reminds me a little bit, and I've only just thought of this. The 11th Doctor makes that thing in Craig's room in the lodger, which is kind of spinning around. Not that I've seen that phrase, but is it a bit like that? I don't know.
It is.
Kind of just come to mind, where it's just this thing spinning around, going nuts, doing absolutely nothing. But I love the fact that, Pertwee Doctor makes all these gadgets. So I love all that sort of stuff. He's always tinkering around, trying to build something, isn't he? And I like that.
It's awesome.
Even if it does look like a wine bottle with a corkscrew in the top. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I love about Pertwee's Doctor, actually. is that he's always sort of tinkering and building and making stuff. And they kind of dabble with that a little bit, or they try to, I think, with Capaldi's Doctor, because I think it was the start of Series 9 or possibly
they
later.
didn't go with it enough, did they? They started to do it.
Yeah, so in his TARDIS, you had like this big sort of work top, like a workbench thing almost, with all of his tools and stuff like that. And I thought, we're going to see more tinkering and building quirky random stuff, but they never really took it.
I wish we had. Yeah.
But I do like that about Pertwee's Doctor, though. He's lots of reversing stuff. You can see where
says it again, doesn't he? He has to say it. Reverse the polarity, neutral flow. Yeah.
So that's cool, though. I like that. I don't mind it.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
What did you think to the premise then of the master sort of embedding himself within this scientific place, and because he brainwashes whoever the guy in charge is.
Obey me, yes. Yeah.
He sort of brainwashes him, and he's it's almost, in a way, I felt like this is kind of out of character for the master, because I felt like he would just go and steal all that stuff and go and do it, and then he sort of relies on these other scientists as well, because there's a bit where they run their own experiment without him, and he gets really mad and he bursts in and have like a little shouty moment. And then he calms down, and then the younger brother of those two, he's like, he's only being nice because he needs us, sort of thing. And so he relies on these other scientists and stuff. At first I thought this is out of character, because, the master doesn't need all of these people when he just, doesn't need to go through all this faff of brainwashing people and making sure he's not discovered and stuff. But then I thought, well, that's actually not a bad part of the story. When I sort of got into the story a bit more, I did think it's actually quite cool. Because it does provide almost like a safe haven for him to sort of carry on and not make any waves anywhere, and sort of disguising himself as a typical scientist and stuff. So what did you think to that stuff? Because that's how the story kicks off, really.
Yeah. I must admit I quite liked all that, because I love it when he does the whole "you will obey me" hypnotizing thing. I think it's brilliant. It's weird, isn't it? Because I think the story starts so interestingly. Like, it starts with the Doctor's dream sequence, doesn't it? Which is quite psychedelic, and that real low shot of the master. And I was thinking, this is great intro, great start. But I don't know if it ever gets explained why the Doctor's dreaming about it. I didn't really get it, but I thought it was a great start to the episode. And then we get into all this, that he's hiding out in wherever he is, and building all this stuff, trying to, get Kronos to Kronos. Yeah, so that's all good. And I do like the fact that when Kronos does finally appear, that he can't control it, because I love that, because Delgado is so brilliant at playing. He looks totally like shocked. He's so used to everyone just bowing down to him and doing what he wants, and he can't control this crazy thing. So I thought that was really good, and all that. So yeah, I liked it. I liked him hiding out in this place. I thought they discovered him quite quick, but then that's all right, because it just moves the story along quite nicely. But they're onto him very quickly, aren't they? Because of the Doctor's dream and all that sort of stuff. So So, but yeah, no, I thought that was all good, mate. I liked all that. I did find it quite funny when he manages to do the perfect impersonation of the Brigadier over the phone, where he's sort of mouthing the words, but no, I mean, if you can do that, you'd probably use it a lot more. It's a bit of a convenient plot point, but that was quite funny. The guy next to him doesn't even question it either, does he? He doesn't go on, man, that's a great impression of the Brigadier you've just done there. He just sort of says, oh, well done. Very British, well done, boy. Well done, sir.
Yeah. Old boy. Very good.
Well done, old boy. Yeah.
Yeah, pip.
But that was quite funny, I thought that. But he doesn't quite, as is always the way with these serials of this time, he doesn't quite get the lip syncing in time with Nick Courtney's speech, does he? But it just about gets away with it, I suppose.
Just about.
Just about, yeah. But it doesn't fool Benson, of course.
Oh, not Ben. No.
Oh, no. What does he say? He actually says, no, the Brigadier would never call me my dear chap or something.
My dear fellow.
He he realises it's not the Brig. So that was quite a nice little touch.
Yeah. So Benson, he has, he's not fooled easily, because he conveniently opens the window because he knows he's going to walk around the block and back up. And
and
then we have that cool scene where the master just gives him a shot across the, and throws him into the cabinet. I love those little moments in classic Who, where the director's like, look, not really sure what you guys want to do here. Just give him a slap. You go down, but just make it look.
He really looks like he flies into that cabinet as well. I was thinking, God, that looked like that hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that little exchange between Benton and the Master. He's like, the oldest trick in the book. And then the Master's like, oh, Doctor, sort of falls in like, he's behind you sort of trick. He's like, I think you'll find that is the oldest trick in the book.
Yeah, I liked that bit.
Yeah.
I had a big grin on my face. That's when Delgado's so good at delivering lines like that.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And one thing I do like about the continuity in Classic Who is that the Master knows the first names of the unit sort of sergeants and stuff because he's dealt with them before. So he knows, the situation with them. So he knows who Benson is, doesn't he? And he also knows the other guy who's the...
Yates.
Yates, that's it. Yeah, he knows him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As well as the brig, obviously.
Goodbye, Captain Yates. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's so evil against them as well, isn't he? He's like trying to stamp them out like ants, like you again. Right, I'll get you this time. Yeah, I like that.
So in terms of story, before we get onto characters and stuff, there's kind of two stories that are running, that sort of merge into one another. So we've got the whole stuff that's happening on Earth.
Yeah,
where the Master's in this place and the Doctor's constructed his time sensor thing and they're sort of tracking down where it's coming from and it leads them to this place and we have all that to-ing and fro-ing. And then the other side of it is the Atlantis stuff and they end up there, don't they, in episode 5, I think it is.
It is, 5, yeah.
So they end up there and then the rest of the story is in Atlantis and they get destroyed and stuff. So how do you think that kind of mythical side of it, sort of how it weaves into the story? Because we can see it building up, can't we? Because when the Master brings back, I can't remember how he says it. Is it Crasis or Crassus? So he brings him into...
Crasis, I think.
Yeah, into this dimension and then they argue for a little bit. But their sort of motives are aligned almost. We're trying to summon Kronos. And then we have these other scenes where we go to Atlantis a little bit, don't we? Where we see the guy saying, oh, the crystal's gone and... Crasis has disappeared and stuff like that. And then we sort of merge in episode 5 where we end up there. So what's your take on this kind of mythical side of it? Because like I said, they do mention these things like Zeus and the Minotaur and all this stuff and kind of gets like the importance of that stuff gets missed a little bit for me.
Yeah, it does. It's funny, isn't it? Because like I said, it's quite a build up to it and it's quite an adventurous idea. I mean, they probably, when they're reading the script, thinking, "Oh gosh, we've got to build Atlantis." I mean, that's no easy task. I don't think they do too bad. I know we only get that one set really with the pillars, but I think it looks all right for the time this was made. It's better than it could have been. But yeah, I agree with you. You got all this build up, but when we do get to Atlantis for that, mainly explored in episode 5, it's so dull that we don't really get any answers either. That I was thinking, I'm done with Atlantis now. I was quite excited to get here, but I think I'd rather go back home now. Yeah, so it doesn't fulfill the potential, I think, that was probably there.
It's the one part of the story that was what I was saying earlier. When I got to that point in the story, I was like, the score's coming down a bit for me because it seems like they were just throwaway comments and characters about these really big, important, mythical things. Whenever you've heard stories outside of Doctor Who, just in general about Atlantis and these gods and stuff, and if you go back to these really old films that my mum used to watch, and I did when I was a kid, like Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans and stuff, these stories are like really big, massive, epic things, and when the Doctor first mentions it, or when the Master first mentions it, it's just like, that place. Oh, Atlantis, it's there somewhere. And then it's almost like it's just a throwaway. It's like, oh yeah, that crystal, the real one's Atlantis. Yeah, so we'll probably nip there at some point.
And they seem really bored, don't they? They're just sat around, taking in a bit of sun. And the actual characters on Atlantis actually really let it down, don't they? Because there's no get up and go to any of them, really. I mean, there's one guy that's shouting about, I don't know what his name was, the guy with the sort of long brown
And the
hair and the
makeup.
eyeliner.
Yeah.
He's having a go, but the rest of them just seem to be like, yeah, the Ingrid Pitt character. I mean, what was the point of her really?
I know.
She doesn't do anything at all. And we also get stuff like the Minotaur thrown in, which feels very much just that thrown in, doesn't it? It's just and I didn't realize that's poor old David Prowse in that costume.
It is, yeah.
I kept thinking that's Darth Vader in there,
yeah.
and he's being made to look like an idiot because he's the Doctor starts doing this bullfighting thing with him, which is just like what? And then he crashes through the wall. I think is that episode 5 or 6? 6, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, I sort of felt a bit sorry for David Prowse really. Going from Darth Vader to that, but again, it does feel a bit thrown in, like right, we're at Atlantis. What should we do now, sort of thing? And they could have really explored the whole Kronos thing more, and maybe we should have seen a bit more of those guys earlier on, because, like you said, I don't care about any of them by the time we get to Atlantis. I'm just like, well, who are these? They all seem really selfish and horrible, so I don't really care if any of them survive. When the whole place starts collapsing, and I'm like, good, horrible people. So it definitely does take a dip around about there, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Even with the Minotaur, yeah,
I agree. I agree with you 100% on that. I think I'd like to have seen more of the Atlantis stuff early on, and for it to be made more of a bigger deal of, because ultimately in this story, if you look at it very general from the outside looking in, the Doctor and the Master have chased each other, and now that they're ended up in Atlantis, and all of the things that happen in Atlantis are kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. There's nothing epic going on there, and then Atlantis gets destroyed. So they've taken this really big, massive, mythical thing, and it's just treated as this very low level, almost like a plot device. It's like, oh, they're here now because this is where the original crystal is, I think. But now we just don't need it anymore. Now we're gonna get rid of Atlantis, this legendary place, and now we're just going to go on to the Doctor and the Master, having a showdown, between TARDISes. So, I'd like to have made them make a bigger deal of it, and not so just off the cuff. Oh, we're in Atlantis, brilliant.
And I think that's the bit that people remember about the story, isn't it? I think that's why this is regarded as not very good, because certainly when we put it on the schedule to review, my first sort of image in my mind is all the Atlantis stuff. Stuff. So, I think it does overshadow what those first 4 episodes, which are fairly decent. They're certainly a great, entertaining watch. But if I think of this story, I do focus on the Atlantis stuff, and it's only really in the last 2 episodes. But they seem to, they definitely let the story down, because, as I said, I think that's what most people think of when they think of Kronos flapping around.
Kronos,
I don't know about you though. When you see, because you don't really see much of it on screen. I'm guessing because most of the time it's on a wire and they're trying to hide it. But when you see photographs of what the actual costume looked like, I quite like it. I think it's quite iconic. I mean, for the time, putting it in perspective, it's quite, it's a bit laughable, yes, but I don't know, there's something about it. I quite like it. And I think the sort of actual look of it is all right. It's got these weird eyes and this weird sort of big nose. I'm looking at pictures of it now on Wiki. You know what I mean? I think it's good that they keep it off screen. I think it's good that we only see it as much as we do, because I don't think it looks that great on screen. But I just mean as a design of the actual costume, I think it's quite interesting. I quite like it. Like if there was a figure or a figurine of it, I'd probably quite like it. Yeah. But I think the editing in that's really good in that sense, because I think if you did see more of it on screen, it would be a letdown. It wouldn't look good.
There's something quite cool about how they handled it as well, because they do this thing where they push like a load of sort of really bright lights at it, and it's almost got this glowing effect.
Yes, a glow. That's right. Yeah.
And the camera movement's quite quick and jerky, and it doesn't leave you long to sort of focus on what it actually looks like in detail.
That's right.
So I quite like that. That was quite cool.
And the sound effect's quite good, because it's quite horrible, isn't it? The screeching sound, I think, gives it a bit more I can't really say realism because it isn't realistic, but you know what I mean. It gives it something else, gives it an edge. Yes. It's quite horrible, the screeching, and there's things flapping around going mad. So you get the idea.
Yeah. I know. I quite like you, mate. I quite like the design. Like, it's got this kind of Roman soldiery.
I couldn't think what it was like. Yeah.
It's got this Roman soldier design kind of sort of helmet on. And then, and then the rest of it's like the sort of bird feathered kind of thing. But no, it's not the worst design that we've seen in Classic Who for a monster. And that's what I was going to say. In lots of Classic Who, we've seen these big sort of lumbering, stupid rubber latex, awkward looking monsters, so they could have done that, but they chose to do like something different. So, but it is a bit comical when we first see it, and it sort of does away with one of the scientists.
It's going mad.
But I quite like it. So for me, really, that's where the story sort of diverges off into. So when because I really liked the first few episodes, like you said, where we've got the whole Doctor and Joe investigating stuff, and we've got Unit involved in It's on Earth, and we've got a bit of Bessie action, and Unit are running around, and we've got typical Brig doing his very, very good banter with the Doctor, like losing his patience all the time and has no idea what the Doctor's up to, and it frustrates him because he just wants to be told in black and white, yes, we're doing this, but the Doctor's always very elusive and winding him up, and so that makes for great Classic Who from the Pertwee era. So that's why I
find it very watchable. Because there's a bit where he says something really sarcastic to the Doctor, and Joe bursts out laughing, and he gets a little smile about the fact that he thinks he's being funny, and little scenes like that make this very watchable, I think.
Very, very cool. So so story wise, it's a bit up and down for me. Pacing wise, it's not too terrible.
It's not too bad.
It's all right. It's okay. And we do have some moments where they had to use their imagination a little bit. So there was no way that they could use some kind of effect because there's a couple of scenes where the Master's got his device turned on, and it's slowing down time, I think, and the Doctor's sort of, and when you get close enough to the field because there's a bit where the Brig's kind of trying to,
I know. Yeah,
he's pretending to
like
walk.
He's stuck slow
motion, and the Doctor's running up behind him. So the Doctor, the Brig's just doing this weird sort of bouncing up and down. This is me walking in slow motion. This is how I. So that bit's really, some comical bits in it, and I had to use her imagination and stuff. But I think I'm definitely more of a fan of the first 2/3 of the story rather than the last third. What did you think? Let's talk to characters then. So the final two, we'll race through some of these because there's quite a few. So Unit is
loads,
Unit.
actually. It's a big cast, isn't it? Yeah.
So Unit is Unit. For me,
and they're good in it.
Yeah. The performances from Benton, the Brig, all of those guys, for me, were very consistent, I found.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was no point where I thought, they've changed how that character is, or they've changed Unit a little bit. I really like that they're very consistent. So when you see Unit in like a Troughton story right through here, whatever it is, especially the Brig, Nick Courtney, just brilliant.
Yeah. Very
consistent. So we don't need to talk about them too much. If you've seen Unit in Classic Who up to this point, it's Unit, basically. The two scientists then that help in the Doctor. I'm not sure whether the script was intentionally, because because they're brother and sister, aren't they? Those two scientists. Are they? I think so. Oh, are they not?
I didn't get that. They may be. Maybe it may have just gone over my head. I didn't.
Oh. Maybe they are.
They could be. I don't know. I didn't get that, but maybe they are.
Maybe they're not then. Oh, crap. Anyway, why did I think they were? Oh, I don't know. I'm sure there was a scene that referenced those two as. Oh, crap. I've probably got that.
Hang on. No, you could be right. There is a bit where they go back to Stuart's house, and he's a bit of a hoarder, and he's got all this junk, and she does make a comment, but I don't know if it's brother or sister. I can't remember now. Yeah. There is something there, but I can't think what it was.
Our listeners will know.
They're brother or sister. Yeah, our listeners will know.
Yeah. But what did you think to him? Because I found his acting a little bit.
He's one of those, isn't he? He's one of those that we very often get in this era of Who. He's a bit too he's not quite taking it 100%. Well, he is taking it seriously, but he's a bit hammy. He's a bit sort of stage acting, isn't he? Whereas I thought Ruth, the other Doctor, she's actually quite good. I think she's a bit more believable. Whereas it's hard to describe, but I know you know what I mean. Stuart, he sort of says his lines that are very much, I'm saying my lines today, and it's like we don't talk, people don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Ruth actually is talking like I am now. She's a bit more fluid and a bit more realistic in just her overall performance, So they were quite a nice contrast in a way, but he did stick out a little bit, I think, as being a bit not over the top, but just his acting just wasn't as good as the other people in it. I thought who played Ruth? Wanda Moore. I thought she was quite good as Dr. Ruth Ingram. But Stuart, played by Ian Collier, nothing wrong with him. I actually grew to like him the more the story went on, because when he first come into it, I was like, oh dear. I thought I was always one that just lets the whole acting team down. But I grew to like him more as the story went on. I wouldn't say his acting was great, but when he gets aged and he looks at himself in the mirror and he's horrified and all that sort of stuff, and he wasn't bad. We've seen a lot worse, but he also wasn't that good either. But I liked Ruth. I thought Ruth was quite a good, strong lead female character. Actually, I thought she was pretty good in it.
Let me hit you with something.
Go on.
Ian Collier played Omega in the Arc of Infinity.
Did he?
No,
well, I didn't know that.
No BS.
Wow, I did not know that. So that's Omega.
Yeah.
Blimey.
He did.
But he's such a wet lettuce in this story. How did he go from that to being? I mean, Omega in that story, not great, but he's certainly. I would never have put him in that suit. Yeah. I didn't realise that. Never would have guessed it was him in that suit. I mean,
played Omega in Big Finish as well.
Oh, good Lord. Didn't know that.
Yeah, what I was going to say was I'm not sure if the script was intentionally meant to. I don't know if there was some politics or something going on in the world at that time. Because, classic Who especially, it does reference like sort of what's going on in the world politically with some stories. And there are quite a few scenes at the very beginning where Dr. Ruth is quite vocal about men being in charge, and
I noticed that. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that was a jab at something that was going on at the time, because we're going through it at the minute. The last couple of years, and it's really ramping up now. Is this gender pay gap thing that we've seen? So I'm not sure if something like that was happening in the world back then in the 70s. I'm not sure, but she references it at the start. I noticed that a few times, and they only play on it for a little bit though. And sometimes when you see that in stories where they don't make it the focus of that character, but they just put these like sort of passive aggressive little nods in there. So when people are watching it, when the studio executives are watching it, they're like, okay, we read you. We know what you're trying to say, sort of thing. So I found that quite interesting. And then they sort of leave it. Sort of, she's quite into it and she's very passionate about it, but then it's just left. It's not mentioned again. So
but she's the stronger of the two as well, isn't she? So definitely, maybe you're right. It probably is very much intentional, because she definitely, out of the two of them, she's sort of calling the shots, I guess. So maybe that is intentional.
And the bit that I mentioned where the brig's pretending to go in slow motion and the Doctor runs after him because there's that time field going on. There's a bit where the other guy, what's his name, Stuart, he's in a wheelchair because he's been aged loads, hasn't he, due to experiment. So when the Doctor brings the brig back to the van, he's in his wheelchair and he's got the old age makeup on. But then when we next see him, when they go into his apartment or flat, whatever, he's normal again. So are we to take from that then that some kind of time field, whatever, has reversed that and he's now his normal age that he was before?
I assumed it was something to do with the thing blowing up or something. I can't remember, because I did think that. I thought, what's caused him? Because the Doctor doesn't seem to think there's any cure, does he?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm really sorry. I don't know if we can do anything, and I'll try my best. I wasn't clear quite what had caused him to turn back myself. So I don't know. I'm really not sure. I think there was something in there.
Can't remember.
There is a reason, but it's not that clear on screen, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, you can tell he's pulled off the bald cap because his hair's all flat.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they're okay. They work perfectly well in the story, don't they? As I said,
grow on you, don't they?
They grow on you. Yeah, I didn't sort of groan every time they come onto screen. I was like, yeah. They're all right.
They're all right. What about the Atlanteans then? So we have Krasis, who's like the priest person from Atlantis.
Yeah.
He gets brought into the story very early on. The master sort of brings him, beams him down from Atlantis. And they constantly squabble, don't they? Like the master's like, don't worry about it. When Kronos gets here, he's my beep.
Why did he want him though? Because he just kind of flaps around annoying the master. I wasn't quite sure what.
Well, I don't think the master knew that that's what Kronos would be like.
No, sorry, not Kronos. The guy that what's his name? Krasis. Why does the master bring him?
Oh, because the master's realised, hasn't he, that he can't summon Kronos without some additional knowledge on how the crystal works.
Oh, right. Okay.
So he needs somebody from Atlantis to sort of tell him, because that's how he acquires that little seal of Kronos, the little
so he's holding it, but fighting him back with it. Yeah.
So I think that's what I can't remember exactly, but I think that's the angle.
Like that.
Krasis, he gets brought into the story fairly early, and I like the constant squabbling because, like you said, normally people just, the master does his brainwashy thing, or he's quite a powerful person anyway, and they normally just bend to his will. But this guy's like, because the master's like, don't worry about Kronos. When he gets here, I'll control him. It's all going to be good. We can rule the universe together, sort of thing. And Krasis is like, no, you can't control the true God, and you can't do this and all that lot. So that gets a bit tiresome after a little, but I do like the squabble between them, and it's not all in the master's favour. He hasn't got complete control over Krasis. That's quite cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I thought actually Donald Eccles as Krasis was quite good, because he did seem to be taking it very seriously, the part. I actually thought he was quite good in the role as well. Yeah, he's quite good, like you said, sparring off of the master, the way they did. Yeah, not bad at all, actually.
Yeah, and then we had the other Atlanteans there. So we had the old guy, looked like Dumbledore, the big silvery beard.
The guy that gets tortured and just... gets brought down a peg or two.
Yeah. And then we have these other dudes, like you mentioned, the guy with the guy liner and the makeup and all that stuff. But then we had the king and queen, don't we, of Atlantis. So we had King Dalios, and then Queen Galea, I think her name was Galea.
Is that Ingrid Pitt?
Ingrid Pitt, yeah.
Yeah.
So the master sort of tricks her, really, doesn't he? He sort of says, I'll give you power. He promises her stuff, but doesn't quite let her know that he's going to off the king. And she gets really miffed at that. So those two characters, I wasn't too bought into them, to be honest with you. It's
Not
like I said, when we got to this point in the story, I was kind of like, you've obviously just glossed over, the Atlantis thing. These are just people that they don't.
But I couldn't get over the performance of Ingrid Pitt, because, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't she quite a bit of a name? I was going to say big actress, but hadn't she done a lot? I mean, the name Ingrid Pitt, it's so familiar to me. I assume she was quite a established actress, and she's as dull as dishwater in it. And it's not just the script; she just doesn't seem to give anything in her performance. I was quite shocked, really, because I kept thinking you've got Ingrid Pitt, and Roger Delgado on screen together, two big names, I think, giving, and Delgado, as I said, very much for me carrying the whole episode, really. But I am right, aren't I? She's done quite a bit. I just thought she did nothing in the story at all. There's no character there. I didn't feel anything towards, the Queen at all. Even when old matey boy gets knocked off, she doesn't, she sort of goes, "Oh dear, that was very naughty of you." You know, it's just like, what?
Yeah,
there was no gravitas to her performance at all. But I am right, aren't I? She was quite a fairly. She'd done a lot of TV, right? She went on to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she'd done a little bit up to that point. She had done a few films up to that point. So she'd done Dr. Zhivago and a couple of Hammer horror things, and she was in Where Eagles Dare. Is
that why? That's probably what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure the name Ingrid Pitt is associated with, and it's probably the Hammer horror films. Then, is it?
Yeah.
She did a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So she went on to do a couple of James Bond things, and she was in quite a few horror films. But I think up to that point when this went out, she was probably best known for Where Eagles Dare. That brilliant film from But yeah, so I'm exactly with you, mate. I thought she was going to be a lot more sort of have some
gravitas.
Yeah, like when she's on screen, like you think, wow, Ingrid Pitt's on screen, but she sort of merged in with all the other sort of bland kind of people playing the Atlanteans, really.
She was really bland, and I just thought it was such a shame because, as I said, in my mind's eye, my memory of this story is, I think of her, I think of Atlantis, I think of Pertwee's Doctor with her, and but what I saw on screen yesterday was like nothing like I remembered at all. I thought, God, she's so boring. She doesn't seem to even want to be there,
Yeah.
Does she go on to be in Warriors of the Deep, or is that someone else? So George Clooney plays her. Ingrid Pitt later. Yeah, it's on Wiki. I thought so. So she's Ingrid Pitt was I don't know what character it was. Warriors of the Deep. She's in that as well, which we did quite recently.
Dr. Solo.
And I think the fact that I've forgotten already probably says something. So yeah, that's a shame, really. There was a good part there, I felt, that could have been done a lot better.
We have to confirm her proper Classic Who status. Did she do Z Cars?
Ah, well,
no, she didn't.
No. Oh, right.
But yeah, she was nothing to shout about, really.
No, shame.
She does lose her rag a little bit when she finds out that the master's
when he's knocked off her
husband, the king.
What did you think of him as well? Because he's going for it under that wig, isn't he? He's definitely the opposite to Ingrid. He seems to really want to try and make a name for himself. I thought he was doing all right.
Yeah, who's that? George Cormack.
He just looked a bit silly in the wig, but I thought he was giving it something.
He was giving it.
So
he was just up against not a great script, unfortunately.
No,
for those guys. Yeah, but he was okay though. He was all right. Right, Atlanteans done.
Yes, there's one other person I want to mention just because it's the other scene where I bet Gary was laughing like mad at this.
I know which one you're going to say.
You do, don't you? It's the window cleaner.
Yeah,
the window cleaner. Played by Terry Walsh, who was stuntman back in Doctor Who. He's in so many episodes, isn't he?
Oh, he's in all of them.
But there's that scene because he does do a comical, almost like Confessions of a Window Cleaner face when he's looking through the window. He's like, "Oh, what?" But it's weird because nothing really out of the ordinary for a scientific experiment is happening.
Not really, no.
In that room, but he reacts as if he's seeing something extraordinary.
Yeah,
which later, he kind of does when he finally crashes to the ground.
Yeah,
but it was a bit like it is quite comical.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's a pointless character and a pointless scene, but it works because it's funny.
Yeah,
it absolutely doesn't need to be in the story at all. It's like setting up his ladder. Right, here we go. I'm going to wash that one window. I'm not going to start at the bottom or the top and work down. I'm just going to choose that random window right there. Oh, it happens to be the one with the, interdimensional time travel experiments that happen to be going on.
And when he's lying dead on the floor, when he's not dead, actually, is he?
No, he's not.
But he's badly injured. But when he's lying there, those two posh old British chaps don't give a tuppenny anything about him, do they? They just like, oh, is he all right? Well, he will be. Oh, good show. And then they go to their conference or whatever, and he's just lying there all battered with his broken leg, and it's, poor old window cleaner. But yeah, it is a pointless scene, but I'm glad it's there. It's funny.
Yeah, and his face is brilliant as well.
Yeah. He's like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So special mention for Terry Walsh, who did a lot for Doctor Who, actually.
Yeah. Do we need to speak about the Master anymore? I think we've spoken about Delgado.
I mean, you can just sum him up in just one word, just brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's so suave. He's so, just can't take your eyes off him when he's on screen.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
He's so good, Roger Delgado. Yeah.
And I want to pick up on a point that you mentioned right at the beginning. And that is, I feel like he does carry this story.
He does. He makes it much more watchable.
Yes. Because Pertwee's great, don't get me wrong.
He is.
But I think that, I just think that Delgado carries a lot of the parts of the story, the episodes where you think, right, if he wasn't doing his thing now, this would drag on forever.
Oh, it would. It would be so dull without him in it. Because, I mean, that is the thing. He is doing what the Master seems to do pretty much every week that he's in it. There's nothing really new here, but he's so good at what he does that it doesn't matter. He, like you said, he really sort of lights up the screen when he's on it. I've got to say, actually, I think Pertwee's very on point in this story as well. He seems very relaxed and comfortable as the Doctor by now. I mean, I don't want to sort of glaze over Pertwee because I think he's excellent in it, actually. You know, that scene where he's talking about his childhood, he's so brilliant in it. He's absolutely taking the role seriously. And Katie Manning, again, bless her, she doesn't get an awful lot to do, but she is good in it because her love for the Doctor and clearly Pertwee himself is so evident on screen. You know, like when she thinks the Doctor's dead and she's on the little scanner and she's just like, well, I just blow me up as well then, because you may as well, you know. I think she's just great. I do love the companion of Jo Grant. So
she is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, so they are good. The three of them together, and a bit like what you said about Unit, absolutely consistently great in this story. So even if the story's not 100%, those guys really make it watchable and a lot more fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just lastly, I think the two things that make those, it's really good that the two kind of leading men, if you like, in the story are consistent, but I love the confidence of Delgado, because the thing that I love about Pertwee and Delgado is that they're both really confident in their scenes, but in a different way. So Delgado's got that really brash, outward, you know, just complete confidence in whatever he's going to do is going to be fine. Because there's a few times where he gets questioned, like the director of the Institute's like, so what are we going to do about so-and-so? Or, you know, what's going to happen? Or are you sure? And Delgado's always, his character's always like, just don't worry. You know, I've dealt with this before. It's all going to be fine. You know, he's just oozes confidence. It's brilliant. Whereas Pertwee is very confident, but in a quieter way. He's quietly confident in all of his scenes. He doesn't need to be shouty. He doesn't need to be, you know, as forceful in his confidence as Delgado is. He's just like, there's a scene where they go to, you know, where's Stuart's apartment? Yeah. And they're all sitting down and he's, sorry, is it that bit where, no, at the institution where Stuart's been aged and he's coming out of his, he's been unconscious, whatever. And everyone else is quite worried, you know, and they're panicking a little bit. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Whereas Pertwee is just sat in a chair at the back of the scene. On the stool,
yeah. That is his apartment, yeah.
Yeah, sort of cross-legged, and he's just like, look, calm down, carry on, what's going on? You know, and he's got this quiet confidence, like he's in control, but he doesn't need to be at the front of the scene with the other actors. He's just there doing his thing. So I love that about Pertwee's Doctor. And yeah, like you said, all these, you know, the three, Jo Grant as well, just Katie Manning, brilliant.
The contrast, actually, yeah, you're absolutely right. Contrast between the Doctor and the Master is brilliant, isn't it? I mean, they spar off each other so well.
Yeah.
John Pertwee and Roger Delgado, they are just electric when they're on screen. Yeah. Like there's a bit where the Master thinks he's finally killed the Doctor, and he actually says, "Oh, I'm gonna miss that guy. Gonna miss having to, you know." And then he almost seems quite pleased that he's not dead, because it's a bit like cat and mouse, isn't it? The fun is in the chase, and that's very much the sort of the Doctor and Master's relationship is always the Master trying to kill him, but he doesn't really want to kill him because he enjoys all the setup and fun that goes with chasing him around the galaxy and all that sort of stuff. So they play that brilliantly.
And it's great that foundation for those characters was set in stone even back in the early days of Who, because if we look at stories like The End of Time, where Tennant's Doctor really cares for John Sims' Master at various times and doesn't want him to die and tries to help him and so on. You know, and then Sims' Master's like very evil and wants to kill him, but he's kind of got this tiny little bit inside him, like at the end where he saves him from Rassilon.
Yeah.
So I love it that all of that stuff has been set in stone and it's been going on for years, and it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Doctor kind of saves the Master in this, doesn't he? He does it again.
Yeah.
He could let the Master get his comeuppance at last, but he can't do that.
No.
There is an affection between both of them, although the Master would never sort of bow to it.
He admits it when he's not around the Doctor. So there's a scene in the Master's TARDIS where I think Krasis does mention the Doctor, and the Master's like, "Oh, he's brilliant. He's got."
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he's got a brilliant mind and stuff. But he would never say that to the,
Yeah, I forgot about that, but he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. I think that's the Time Monster.
There is just one last thing I want to mention, because I found
it
it's quite interesting, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't pick up on this. It's because I quite often watch these with the production subtitles, because they give you a good sort of background on things. And I'm glad I did with this one, because there's a bit where the Doctor is talking to Jo in his subconscious. So there's all these voices and whispering, blah, 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 but the Doctor's talking to her. Now, I didn't pick up on it, but it said keen-eared viewers may notice that some of the Doctor's subconscious voices are female.
Female, yeah.
Now, I didn't notice that.
I didn't until I read it.
Oh, right, yeah. So I think that's really cool, because obviously we are about to have our first female Doctor and stuff. But I love the fact that even back in 1972... they were thinking along those lines. So maybe the writer, who was it, Robert Sloman or even Barry Letts, there is a bit of a women's, lib thing at the beginning that you pointed out. Mm-hmm. And there is this thing of having, some of the Doctor's subconscious voices are female. So it's kind of even back then. It's there.
Of course.
The Doctor can be female. So, and I would never have noticed that.
I didn't either.
But I love the fact it's there, because it kind of brings everything. Anyone that's sort of saying, no, it's not canon, the Doctor can't be female. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe he can, because it's already, it was already there back in the classic series. So it's canon. Yeah. So I like that. I like the fact we got that. That's very cool, actually. It almost feels like a little hidden Easter egg or something. It does, doesn't it? I love it. Yeah, I love it, yeah. No, it's great. Just lastly for me, I quite like the music in this one. There are a couple of scenes where it gets a bit sort of playful, clown-like, and I'm not really a fan of that. But for the most part, I really like the little musical interludes that bring you into each scene. It's got like this kind of electro synthy kind of vibe going on. I quite like it. Yeah, it's Dudley Simpson, isn't it? I just love his brilliant stuff anyway. Yeah, love Dudley. Yeah. Rightio then, scores. It's me to go first, I think. Good. And I'm going to give this a 6. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'm slightly higher, only by a fraction. I'm 6.5. Oh, okay. Yeah, I felt 7 was too high, and I felt 6 was too low. I was kind of, so I'm in the middle. 6.5. Yeah. When I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes, I thought this is hovering around a 6.5 or 7. But then the final 2 were just like, this has brought it down a bit for me. It did dip. Yeah. Reasonable scores, though. Yeah. What did our listeners think? So over on the Twitter poll, 57% of you said likey and 43% said stinky. Ooh, all right. A bit more even, that one. Yeah, because the last few that we've done, they've been all quite consistent. Only a few stinkies, haven't they? But that's a bit more half-half, isn't it? It is. We had some comments on Twitter as well. Isaac Whittaker said, it's definitely the worst Doctor Who story I've seen 100 times. So does that mean that he likes it? Don't know. Yes, the TARDIS Files HQ says, I love the opening to part 1. Other than that, it's not great if you compare it to other stories from the Pertwee era. Quite forgettable and boring, and a rubbish finale to season 9. I'm sorry, but I can't go any higher than a 5. Yeah, I agree. It's a dud ending to the series, but in terms of the actual resolution. Yeah. Our writer does a lot of our Big Finish reviews. Jordan Shortman says, remember watching the story on VHS with the master set. I quite enjoyed it, actually. 7 out of 10, mainly for nostalgic reasons. I remember that tin. Yeah, that set. Yeah. TARDISNet66 says, really bad.
Very misguided plotting and some ridiculous, silly moments. It's very dull, an unbelievable interpretation of Atlantis, which does not live up to the expectations of an incredibly laughable villain. And it takes itself too seriously and completely fails. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
Yes. Electrold at Blazing Callum, 29. Says it's one of my guilty pleasures.
Oh, good.
Yes. John Winton Scott says it feels very disloyal to the Pert to vote it a stinker, but it really is a mess, and a dull one at that. Oh, no.
A lot of people saying that, dull, using that word.
Interesting Twitter name, this one. Dan in the Man in the Big Red Van says, one of the most underrated Pertwee stories. I really don't understand where all the negativity for this comes from. It has a great story and great performances from the main cast, especially the wonderful Ingrid Pitt.
Really?
He says it's a classic. Nice one, Dan.
Okay, Dan, cheers.
Yeah, Andrew Cuthbert Jr. says, timeless classic, always a pleasure to see Delgado and Pertwee verbally spar on screen. Morgan, Gallifreyan Hooven says, definitely a guilty pleasure. If shortened by 1 or 2 parts, it would have gone down far better. You might be right there.
Yeah.
The storyline is quite spontaneous and unit don't feel needed. Nonetheless, it's really fun to watch. Delgado is perfect and a beautiful hermit speech. He lovely. Gives it 6.3 Cronoses out of 10. And lastly on Twitter, Isaac Whittaker-Dakin says it's the worst Pertwee story objectively, but it's more entertaining and watchable than Frontier in Space or The Mutants.
Right. Yeah, okay. We'll see when we get to The Mutants. I think you might be right.
Yeah. Over on the official Facebook page, only a few here. Jeff Waddle. He really wasn't liking the last one we did. What did we do where Jeff went mad?
I don't know. There's a few he doesn't like.
Yeah, he says, I love Ingrid Pitt, but that's because I grew up with her in the Hammer horror films. Her and Delgado steal the show in the last 2 episodes. Other than that, it's just a horrible mess. A white budgie person that eats time. They didn't have the budget for this, and they should have reined it in. A mishmash of good ideas that get lost in a very fragmented story. 4 out of 10, and 2 of those are for Ingrid.
I know which 2. I was going to say, I wonder if I've been slightly harsh on Ingrid, because I will admit I zoned out in the last 2 episodes. Maybe she was better than I'm giving her credit.
Possibly. I didn't find her that great, though.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I hope I haven't been too harsh, because I honestly did zone out quite a lot in that episode 5, so I hope I'm not doing her an injustice.
Yeah. Sammy Satine from Down Under says, Ruffles, Joe, Unit, the Master, what's not to love? It's not perfect, but it kept me entertained. The story the Doctor tells about the old bloke under the tree, the planet he described, sounds nothing like Gallifrey, even though it is.
I did think that, because I was thinking about when the Doctor visits the barn in Day of the Doctor and all that. I was thinking that doesn't really tally with the story that Pert was talking about. He's talking about being on a cliff and a tree and all that as a child. So, yeah.
Gallifrey's a big place, though. Might have a tree somewhere and a cliff.
In that desert, and a cliff.
She says, good acting from all. She gives it 7 Atlanteans out of 10.
Cool.
George Puddy. He really wanted to like this one, but it's not great. Plot is a mess. And it's a slog to get through. The cast were good, but the production values were poor. And it's a real disappointment as the final outing for Delgado's master. Is this his final one?
Oh, is this when...
Did he have his accident after this?
Hang on. Yeah, because, could be right there. I'll have a look while you read the comments. Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
He also says, TOMTIT. Who came up with that name?
I can't believe we forgot to mention that. Yeah, no, I did think that at the time.
Yeah, so listeners who haven't seen this one, the device that the Master constructs to disrupt time and summon Kronos with the crystal, etc., this big electrical machine thing, is called TOMTIT, and it stands for... Oh, crikey, it stands for something.
Yeah.
It's got a long name, yeah. Anyway, he says... Who came up with that name? He says, overall, it's pretty poor. The elements were there, but it's just a pretty weak story. 4 out of 10. Martin Arnold says, I loved it. The ambitious attempt at something mythological is compelling. The story is decent. We'll ignore that the MacGuffin has a daft name. and that the dialogue for the two scientists makes them sound like a bickering married couple in a 70s sitcom. Delgado is positively on fire throughout, definitely the best of the Myths and the Legends box set, although that might for some sound like a backhanded compliment. Thanks, Martin. Rob Kernock says, a very fun, entertaining episode with the brilliant Roger Delgado. Very long, but worth watching. 8.5. And lastly, Joseph Howarth says, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I still don't like this one. It's a good ideas, but it's badly executed and ruined by poor writing and pathetically cheap production values, especially when it came to Atlantis itself. And did I mention that Ruth and Stu are annoying as hell? I would recommend this story. No. Is it a great story? No. Does it have some good stuff? Yes. Just think it should have been better. 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Okay. And it's not the Master's last story. While you've been reading out the comments, I've just been having a look because I guess we are getting towards that. But yeah, he's in the next series. He's in Frontier in Space.
Oh yeah.
Is he in the Green Death? I can't remember now.
He is, because we have that cool scene with the bridge and hanging on the truck. And is that the Green Death?
I've got confused, but it's not his last story. He's definitely in the next series. So
otherwise we would have mentioned that stuff, I suppose. But
yeah. Anyway, I'm glad about that because the more Delgado, the better.
Of course. Anything on the Geeks Handbag?
Yeah, I had a couple. So Patrick Sherwood says it's okay. It's not the best story, but he likes it for what it is. So he's going to give it an 8.5. Quite high, Patrick. Nope. Charlie Turner says easily one of the weakest in the Pertwee era, but it's okay. It's no Carnival of Monsters, he says, which he still doesn't like even after 2 viewings. He says, I can see what the Time Monster is trying to do, but it just doesn't work for the most part. It's okay. So he gives it a 6 out of 10. And finally, Alex Kafajoglu says one of the weaker Pertwee stories, but underrated. I like it until it gets to Atlantis. Good scenes for Benton and Yates, which is nice. Benton is comic relief, but the end of part 3 when the unit convoy is bombed and a worried brigadier calls Yates Mike is quite moving. And Alex gives it a 6.5 out of 10, the same as me.
Okay.
So you people, I think the general consensus, I know a lot of people don't like it, but there's quite a few there saying things like guilty pleasure and, underrated, better than people say. And that's kind of where I am on it. So, yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for all your comments, as always. Next week for reviews, we're on to our Torchwood.
On to Torchwood.
Yeah. So what's the Torchwood story?
So it'll be the first episode called Everything Changes. I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know when I last watched the first episode, but it was certainly a mighty long time ago. So, it's going to be good to crack into some Torchwood.
Yeah, I've not watched any Torchwood in a while,
No, me neither.
A long while.
No.
So that's going to be good. So get your DVDs out.
Yeah.
Or your Blu-rays. Or your Netflix. Or whatever it is you want to watch it on. Because we want to get your thoughts on this one for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I think we'll do that, mate, for 183.
Okie dokie.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening through episode 183. Some really cool news and merch. If you've got money to burn, get yourself over to that auction. It starts beginning of May. Get that Hartnell script.
Yeah.
That'll be such a cool piece of merch to own, wouldn't it?
I would love it. I'd love that on the shelf. I'd have to keep it in an airtight glass container, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And if you're into your mandrels, then the Robert Harrop upcoming figure might float your boat. But do take a look at the Robert Harrop. There were some people that were asking about Robert Harrop on the Discord server, actually. So go and check out the website, see what's still available, because it will sell out at some point. We say this all the time.
Yeah, and then you'll be you'll regret it. Yeah,
absolutely. Next week, Torchwood, Everything Changes. Looking forward to watching through that and hearing your thoughts and stuff. But in the meantime, head over to our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous shows on there. Plus, you can link off to all of our social accounts. We do a lot of Doctor Who chatty in between episodes, so come and hang out and chat Who and all that stuff. And you can also link off to the various podcast networks from there, and you can give us a like and a subscribe and all that stuff. And there's a big iTunes button, so get your iPhone out or your Mac or whatever you've got iTunes on, and give us a sub so you never miss a show when it lands every Friday. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could spare a moment for a review and a rating, that would be awesome, because it really helps us. And we had some great reviews that have landed in the last month, so thank you very much. We're up to 50 reviews on iTunes now, and they're all awesome, so thank you so much. It really helps.
Yeah, it's nice. Thank you.
Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's
Handbag.
Just do a search on YouTube for Adam's channel. Give him a sub. Really awesome videos over there. You won't be disappointed.
No.
You're also on Twitter and Instagram, all the social stuff. You're on there.
All the social stuff, yeah.
He's
Insta.
everywhere.
Do like a bit of Insta.
A bit of Insta, yeah, he's everywhere. So next week for 184, we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...